Hello and welcome to this Wooclap webinar for June 2024. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for people to get connected. My name is Jennifer, joined today by Sean and Beth, two physics instructors in New York, State University of New York, Portland. And we'll wait the usual 2 minutes or so for people to get situated. Yep. And as Sean smartly pointed out, I made a little typo on the slide. That is June in French. So now everyone knows how to say juin in French. Thankfully, it's the same number of letters. Okay. So our agenda for today should be about an hour, maybe a bit less. I will start and give a brief background about Wooclap. We'll do a couple icebreaker questions, and then I will let the floor to Sean and Beth to talk about lecturing with Wooclap at SUNY Cortland, and specifically how Wooclap helps them in large lecture classrooms to really get feedback from each individual student. At the end, if anybody has questions, we can take questions from the crowd and also even demonstrate things in the back office of Wooclap since we are screen sharing. So if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate. My name is Jennifer Larson. I am community builder at Wooclap, originally from the US, based in Paris. And I am thrilled to be joined today by Sean Nolan and Beth Pennell, lecturer 4 and lecturer 1 at SUNY Cortland, State University of New York, both physics instructors. So to quickly explain what is Wooclap, and also don't forget that you have the questions tab on the bottom right, and at the end of the session, you'll receive an email with the replay you can click on if you want to watch again. So I'll just explain Wooclap quickly for people who maybe don't know what it is. It's a question and polling tool where you can ask questions of your students in real time and pop the questions up on the screen. Students can connect via their smartphones or via their tablets in order to respond to your questions. And it really allows classes, especially lecture classes, to become interactive and engaging environments. And that was kind of what happened when Sean and I discussed a few months ago about how you use Wooclap, what value does it bring to your classroom? And Sean shared that he had already given a presentation with Beth internally at SUNY Cortland to talk about using Wooclap. And so I asked you to come and join us today and tell us what your secrets are. So I'll let the floor to you guys, and you can control the slides, and I'm here in case there are any questions.
All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for that introduction. So just a little bit about who we are. I'm Sean Nolan. I'm a lecturer rank 4. I also am a planetarium director and a co-coordinator adolescent science ed programs here at SUNY Portland. I've been with the physics department for 10 years. Prior to that, I got my bachelor's and graduate degrees here at SUNY Portland in science education, specifically physics and math. Here on campus, I teach our intro and calculus-based physics lectures and labs. I also do the introductory astronomy labs and supervise student teachers. I'll let Beth talk about what she does here.
So this is my first year as a full-time lecturer here at SUNY Portland. So we can tell from my part of the presentation that I'm super new to education. I do not have a background in education. I got my sustainability energy physics degree here. So I'm learning a lot as we go, and Wooclap has been super useful in learning how to deal with these really large intro classes, which I think you kind of get when you're the newbie in the department too. But I really enjoy the large classes. So.
Yeah, and you teach what types of large classes?
Oh, I'm all intro algebra based, and
you
I get
also
lots.
do the...
And I have one that's education majors, so K through 6 future science or science class.
Yeah, and you do physics and chemistry.
And chemistry. And they're all very large lectures. All my large lectures are about 70 students. I usually have 4.
So the majority of the students that we teach are non-physics majors. So these are students that are exercise science, kinesiology, biology, early childhood ed. And so trying to teach physics, which is already a science that gives you that sort of looks. People are very turned off by it because of the math involved in it, and so it's very. There are challenges, I should say, to teaching non-majors physics, and a lot of them it's not in their wheelhouse. They're taking the class because it's required of their major, and a lot of them are just trying to either just pass or just kind of cruise control through it. And, we don't want that experience to be like that for those students. We want it to be engaging. We want them to be interested in learning about science and just seeing how they can apply it to their future career someday. So I did some enrollment data the past 4 years to kind of see, how our numbers are. So we took a little bit of a dip a few years after COVID, but they're starting to go back up. Recently, we had 176 students in our Physics 105 course, which is our intro algebra, which covers mechanics and heat. And then we had 179 this past semester in our Physics 106 course, which is electricity, light, and sound. And the average class size is about 60 to 70 students. It runs, these two courses run every semester or every year. And, a lot of majors out there require a year of physics. And so that's why they're such large numbers in this. So what were some of our inspirations for using Wooclap? Primarily for me, it stemmed from the COVID-19 pandemic, and Wooclap was introduced to me by a former colleague. He was shopping around for different online polling sites. We have poll everywhere here on campus, but I don't find it very user-friendly. And when he let me know about Wooclap and I tried it out, I'm like, wow, this is very easy to use. It's intuitive, and there are so many different aspects of the program and the software that I like that we'll talk about. I also noticed attendance issues in my class because of the large lecture class, I didn't have a really good attendance policy. And so I would notice as the year went by that I would start with a lot of students at the beginning, but by the time we got to the end of the semester, 15 weeks later, I was down to maybe 25% of my what should be there. And I also found my teaching was becoming stagnant. I really felt like the students were becoming less and less engaged. Even though I was trying with my charisma and my charm, I just felt like I was talking to myself 50 minutes 3 times a week. And then I'll let Beth jump in and talk about her inspirations for wanting to use Wooclap.
Yeah, so I started following in Sean's path because I teach a lot of the same classes as him, and I knew he was using this. Attendance is a huge thing for me with these classes. They often do kind of not fantastic on the exams. The exams are challenging. So when I try to do their final grades, I look at, did you come to every lecture? Did you come to every lab? Do every homework? Do all the things you need to do? Can we make that a bigger part of your grade than did I do really well on an exam? So being at every single lecture is super important to me, and I had to be able to make that part of their grade. So I do give them like 10% just for coming to class. So Wooclap has been great to see, like, do you come to class? Can you come answer questions? And I've never had an issue with attendance, even days like optional Fridays, the day before breaks and stuff, which we joke is optional Friday. My classes are always full. Like, they are just always there. And that's impressive to me. They show up and they do the work and they're engaged.
Right.
And they should earn a good grade just based on that, really.
Mm-hmm. I found that in order to kind of get the message across to specifically non-physics majors is you have to incentivize learning for them. You have to give them a reason to want to go there every day. And Wooclap has been one of the answers for me, and probably for us. So we have some questions for all of you to kind of log in and answer and just play around with Wooclap. So there are some, you can scan that in there. There's the event code as well. I didn't know you could customize the event code. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can. You of course, it's like a license plate. So if somebody else has already taken that event code, then you can. And one of the things I like to do to make it really customized is put the date. So if I'm giving a training, I just put the exact date, and then nobody can mess with it.
This is amazing. Beth is the best.
Right.
I can see it.
Good to know. I learned something today about Wooclap. How many people do we need to wait for to sign in, Jen?
I think we're good. I think this is a small group today. So
Okay.
if you keep going, and then we can answer the first question.
Right. Now, this is a question I ask my students, and it ages me when I see some of the responses, but it's just a nice icebreaker to get those students hooked on the first day.
What was yours, Sean? What was the first one that you saw?
The original Lion King.
Okay.
I feel like mine was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 for some reason.
Secret of the Ooze.
Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah. Oh, we got some more participants. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's always because I watch a lot of movies. I kind of know roughly when they were released, so kind of ages them and ages me. But
yeah. And the students get younger, but we don't, right?
Right. And unfortunately, the movie theater business is slowly dying.
Really?
Oh yeah. I will. Movie theaters are probably going to get turned into Walmarts for the next 20 years.
So these days, when you ask this question, what are some of the responses that you get from the students?
Yeah. So. I have one of the slides is actually one of the answers to that, or one of the votes for that. But since this presentation is about large lecture classes, from your perspective, when you were a student, if you've ever taken a large lecture class, describe it in one word. How did you feel in these large lecture classes? I know the title of our presentation is "Facing a Crowd." I had that feeling in a large class. I think the largest lecture class I was in was probably about 100 students. And, it was very easy to just kind of fade into, and then to be there. So sleepy, difficult, stagnant. Yeah.
The worst for me was a large lecture class in French about literature with 200 French students.
200. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I bet you that was just the instructor talking for the whole time.
Yep. No Wooclap back then.
Yeah. No, they had like old school clickers that you can get to if it had multiple choice questions the instructor asked, you can actually had to press a button on a clicker. We still have them here. I'm like, no, we don't need them anymore. Use your phones. Use Wooclap. So. Yeah, if you want to describe yours.
Difficult too. I feel like a lot of students, especially if they have questions or they start falling behind on something, they're embarrassed to maybe raise their hand. So it's really hard for them to have a voice. And I think it's just so important to engage with everybody in the class.
Right.
Like if you can get everybody across the finish line, that's the goal. And that's so hard in a big lecture, especially with stuff that's not their major and it's difficult math, and we have to put everything together. So I think it really gives them a chance to get a voice.
Yeah. One of the skills that I try to build out of my students is perseverance. Is just, if you're faced with a problem, are you going to persevere through it? Or are you just going to say, I don't want to do this, and just walk away from it? So, trying to build up that confidence in students is certainly a task. But I found that Wooclap has kind of helped to bridge that gap. How difficult was it for you to learn in that large lecture course? Now, this might depend upon the type of student that you were. Maybe you're a fast learner. Maybe you can just see things and get it. But I find that's not the case for a lot of the students that we teach. I never attended. Thanks for your honesty. It's true, though.
Yeah.
Who's going to know if they don't take attendance?
Instructors in our department that do not take attendance,
right.
By the end of the semester, no one is coming to class. And that would be so sad. I just can't.
Yeah.
I feed off their energy. I have to have them there.
There is certainly this culture in higher education that, a lot of the onus goes on the students. Say, if you don't go, that's on you. And I try not to have that attitude because I want to encourage students to come to class. I know that's where it's the best place for them to be, and it's the best place for me to know what they're getting and what they're not getting. If they don't go, I feel like some students in college might have this notion that college professors don't care how you do, and that's just not the case with me. And I'm sure Beth is definitely the same way.
Do you guys use Wooclap to take attendance, or do you use another tool, or do you do it manually?
I kind of just the way I set it up in my syllabus is that Wooclap is their participation grade. So you come to class, you answer a question, whether you get it right or wrong, you're going to get your participation credit.
Cool.
So I kind of do the attendance that way.
Yeah. Did you come to more than like 75% of the classes? Like, I understand you're not going to get 100, then fine, you get your 10 points for attendance.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I asked on the first day of these courses is, did they take physics in high school? I want to get a sense of, is everything going to be foreign to them, or do they have some idea of some of the concepts that we're going to look at? And I found through the years that it's 50-50 with my course. About half of them have taken it in high school, half of them haven't. And so that just gives me a baseline sense of where everyone's at. I don't know, have you asked that question before?
I have not.
I've also in the past have asked questions like, when's the last time you took a math class? Because for some students, it's been a few years, and math is the language of physics. So if their math is a little rusty, that's something that I need to know so that I can adjust my instruction based on that. I don't want to throw a quadratic formula up there and be like, I get blank stares because nobody knows what it is. I also ask my students what major they are. I get this data, but I like to have them answer. So the majority of them tend to be exercise science majors in these intro algebra-based courses. So these are your kinesiology people. The next big one is biology, pre-med, or I think regardless of what major they have, biology majors have to take a year of physics. And then I have a few science education and then a few others.
Why is it that you like to ask them, even though you get the data?
Just because I want to, it's easier for me to get it divided up this way. Because with the rosters I just get a list.
Okay.
And so it's just something I like to know. Let them also gives the sense of that, hey, I'm interested in knowing what your major is.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
And also, if I know that half the class are exercise science majors, then maybe I should do some more sports-oriented or exercise-oriented problems. So here's the question I asked my class about the first movie they saw. The majority of them said Cars, which came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And then Hannah Montana. Yeah.
Wow.
Spider-Man 3. It's just one of those things that everyone it's one of those experiences that you'll remember, your first movie. Yep. And your first concert as well is one I've asked in the past too. IDK, I don't know. Okay, so one person didn't know. And I think next are some bets, yeah.
Oh, and so I'm much less technical than Sean. And a lot of times I forget to set up Wooclap questions before class, right? So my Wooclap questions for attendance are not always like physics oriented. I've had them guess how many sweatshirts my daughter had to bring home from her locker at school, which was 31. So sometimes it's just kind of fun. But if I last minute just forgot to add a question, I can just type something in really quick, get their attendance for the day, and that's fine. They know I'm kind of not super organized. My students, I think, learn really quick. So they're always willing to throw it. So if I want to ask them what their favorite ice cream is, or what's the best candy, or anything I can do to get them to answer something so I can grab their attendance for the day.
It's an interesting technique as a way to get them to pay attention and also feel interested because they're telling you something that they really like, right?
Yeah, I get some really ridiculous answers sometimes. And sometimes they type in things about their friends, and I've gotten all kinds of weird stuff pop up on that screen. Once in a while, a swear word comes up, and then okay. But I think they know that it's part of the engagement of my class.
Yeah,
they are super engaged.
I've asked also, what sports do you play? Because a lot of them play sports. And I've had some student athletes, and just last year we've had a lot of championships come to the college with our football team and what was the other one? Soccer. I don't keep up with it. All right. So Bloom's taxonomy is something that we push hard in our science education pedagogy courses, and it's something that I believe in as well. So get a sense from everyone out there, in which level of Bloom's taxonomy would you expect an A-level student to be at in an introductory physics course? So I'm not going to check what the correct answers are, but we're really looking for students to be in that apply analyze method or tiers to be an A-level student in physics. Physics is about applying equations and applying general content knowledge to solving a problem and thinking really outside the box. So the next question is, in which level of Bloom's taxonomy do you think a student in an intro physics course struggles with the most? Seems like they know the answer. Yeah, so surprisingly, the answer is remember and understand. Students cannot get out of those two foundational tiers of Bloom's taxonomy, which they need to be able to go up to the apply and analyze tiers, which is where the success and truly the understanding of physics comes into play in that analyze and apply tiers. So we're struggling at the basic foundations in Bloom's taxonomy with students in this class. And so it's not surprising to me why so many students struggle with this course. And also fatigue, semester fatigue also wears on them as well. As the semester goes along with all their other classes, a lot of them just kind of, for lack of better words, they just give up.
We see them get discouraged.
They get discouraged,
After that
yes.
first exam, we see them get discouraged. And it's really tough to get them to keep it going for 15 weeks.
And some of them have to do this 2 semesters in a row as well. So yeah, physics operates in the apply and the analyze tiers, and often our intro students struggle with the understanding and remembering. You know, the big thing of remembering, what's the difference between a vector and scalar? Such a big thing, and yet such a small thing in physics, but students have a hard time remembering the difference between the two. And not only that, they have a harder time of how do vectors and scalars differ mathematically as well. You can't treat them the same mathematically. And so you want your students to be vector experts.
That's always my goal, is to be vector experts. So I asked them along the semester, like, what is your level of vector expert at this point? 1 to 5. And we do see it grow.
So in the field of education, there are basically 2 big groups of assessments out there. There's summative and formative assessments, Wooclap. We use it primarily for formative assessment, getting to know then and there what's going on in the minds of students. How is their understanding? Are they getting things? You have state assessments, district assessments, end of unit or assessments or tests that we give. Those are summative assessments. You're trying to understand how students are grasping everything as a whole if you break your class down into different units. But it's the formative assessment that is the most powerful and helpful to me as an instructor, to know where students are then and there, live, and I can make changes, you know, on the fly right in class if I had to. And if I'm seeing students are not getting this concept, I know then and there, and we can address it then and there. So it's certainly been a game changer for me. So I like to use. Well, this is yours.
Yeah, this one's mine.
Yeah.
I always ask them the same question at the beginning and the end of the semester. Whatever word they associate coming into this class, and we can see there's some terrible things on here: heartbreak, complex, math, scary, anxiety, stressful, suffering. And so this is the attitude they come in with, and I'm like, okay, I had 15 weeks to prove you wrong. You will find something beautiful and interesting along this semester. Like, I always try to give them that spiel. Like, I promise you, like, I'm in the trenches with you. We will get through it. So by the end of the semester, I ask them again. And to me, this is better than any teacher evaluation that we ever give them, because I can really see how they feel by the end of the semester. So I always give them this again. I showed it to them and ask them again. Now, how do you feel about this class after we've been through it 1 semester? And having it be interesting and manageable and not bad. Those are the best case scenarios. That means I've done my job. Some of them said they had fun. I get little hearts. Like, I love them too.
Hearts, yeah.
Is this the same class from this semester?
Yeah, this was my spring semester. And they find things interesting. They love circuits, they love batteries, they love talking about magnets. Like, to me, this is amazing. Like, and it's just like the best reward that they've learned something, we've gotten through it together, and just such a great change in attitude. It just makes the whole semester so much worth all the trouble, right?
Right, definitely. I mean, students want to know how the world works. They have a natural curiosity still. It hasn't been beaten out of them yet. It's just it's that connection with math that scares them.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we need to overcome. And asking these conceptual questions and these qualitative questions through Wooclap has certainly helped to, again, kind of deal with that fear. And if we have to hold our hand through some of the math, that's fine. I'm okay with it. So here is a great success story that she'll tell you about.
So my thing is, if I can see that we're struggling, then I feel like it's something that I need to repeat again, right? I'm all about repetition as a learning strategy. And so right hand rule, right? So if you've ever taken physics, you have velocity, force is your finger field lines, and force is your palm, and you can figure out how these charges move through a magnetic field. So I had already done a bunch of practice with these guys. I promised them right hand rule would be on their exam, and make sure everybody's hand is in the air following along with me during class. And still, I gave them this Wooclap, and it was like 46%, only 46% of you. I was like, guys, I'm absolutely horrified right now. I promise you, we will, every single lecture, the first thing you do, even when we moved on new material, is a right hand rule question until we get to 80% as a class. Because then I know I at least have 80% of you on board. So this went on for weeks. I have a few on here as we went up. Now we're at 68, right hand rule again. I keep changing the picture, right? It's not the same scenario every time, but they should be able to use their right hand rule and figure it out.
And you the order also. Very good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then now we finally get to 80. And this one was actually kind of a challenging one because they had to think of where the magnetic field between the bar magnet would go and the current and where is this wire going to go. And we finally hit 80%. And I was like, all right, I promise you. There was probably 10 in between the two. But I just included like kind of the ends here. But I thought it was just a great way of like that repetition, like giving them confidence, practice every day. Like this is something we can learn. We are all capable of learning. Have the confidence to do so. I mean, and there's always going to be stragglers. And of course, on the exam, the right hand rule is still one of my most missed questions. But I tried really hard to get them all across that line.
Right. Yeah, students do have a lot of test anxiety in these courses. And we want to try to build up their confidence coming into the exam. And so I think Wooclap questions, when you start to see numbers like 80% of them are getting it. But as you said, I guess on the exam that was after this, was it still at 80% or did it drop down a little bit?
I should have gotten it. I don't. I could definitely tell that was one of my most missed ones.
Right.
I tried, guys.
I mean, So once you remove that safety net, the test anxiety can take over, and students can just get into this panic and not realize that they know this stuff, but their brain is not letting them. They're psyching themselves out. Now, one of the things that I like to do is physics is all about reading into small details and reading questions carefully and seeing if you're actually answering what you're supposed to be answering. And so as you see, I get this question here, and I said, round your answer to 2 significant digits. How many of them actually rounded it to 2 significant digits? Very little. So they all calculated it right, but they didn't pay attention to those small details. Rounded to 2 significant digits.
Yeah.
So this was a good opportunity for me to talk about those small details and also to talk about significant digits and why they matter. Are you going to report 109.09 meters? No, you don't have to, right? And this still happens. It's hilarious every time it happens. They're getting the answers right numerically, which means they understand the math and what was needed to get the answer, but they're not paying attention to those small details.
When you ask this kind of question, Sean, do you make it so that they can't see other students' results until you reveal everything at once?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. I just have the bar on the top there so I know how many people have answered. And then once everyone's answered, I lock the question, and then we'll reveal it. So for this one, it was like, great, you guys got it, but, well, details. And also, here, sometimes I like to ask questions that I know the students are going to get wrong so I can address their misconceptions. And so this one was a ranking question, ordering those 5 things from least momentum to greatest momentum. Momentum is mass times velocity. So the correct answer is the one in the middle, but notice about half the class on the left there, switched the order of the bullet and the person. And this is because small details, again, they didn't multiply. They multiplied 8 grams by 350. You get a bigger number than 65 times 5, but the units were wrong. So again, this is one of those questions where I know they're probably going to mess that up because they're not going to do the unit conversion because you got to be in kilograms.
I would definitely be incapable of doing this. So,
and then notice that least momentum. Oh, they all got the train one right. I thought they were going to put the train one as the most because it's the most massive, but they saw that at rest and they said, okay, at rest, 0 momentum. So I was glad that everyone that answered, they put the train as the least momentum. But yeah, so I've been doing this so long that I know where students' mistakes are going to happen. I know where misconceptions are going to happen, and I can address them right in class. And I can see, and I don't do this as kind of as a got you and put students down. I put this so that they're aware of their misconceptions and their errors that they're making. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't penalize them if they get the answers wrong in my class. If you participate, you'll get credit. You get it. I'll talk about it a little later. They get a little extra credit if they get the question right. But
can I actually ask you something about these ones? As an American in Europe, I am surprised to see that you're using kilograms. Is that just the standard in physics?
Yep.
For science, yep. And we also talk about how we're one of only 2 countries on this planet that use miles and all these other things. So we really should be talking about the best.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Especially when I do my thermodynamics unit and I give the units in the SI system that Europe uses, and then I give them to them in the English system. They're like, what? It's so overcomplicated. But Americans be Americans. So yeah, we use kilograms, meters, and seconds for our standard units. And it took a while for me to kind of go from miles per hour to meters per second. I can do it now, but it took a while. And that's a great thing also for me because I know students are not going to have a physical intuition of what 5 meters per second looks like.
Exactly.
So I can kind of help them to make that, kind of give them examples in life of, well, how fast is 5 meters per second? That's typical jogging speed, 65 kilograms. Multiply that roughly by 2, and that's how many pounds it is, right? And here's another one I asked about momentum. This was a bunt, and I asked them what is the total momentum vector. So the bunt's stationary, so the bat has no momentum. The ball has all of it. It's going towards the catcher, so the momentum is going to be towards the catcher. And then I say, same question, but what is the direction just after the ball is hit? And look how many of them switch over towards the pitcher because that's the direction the ball's going. So this is a question I ask where I know they're going to get it wrong because they have a misconception about momentum that I know because I've been doing this so long. This just gives me an opportunity to, again, talk about momentum, what it means for momentum to be conserved. I just love asking these questions where I know they're going to get it wrong. I know it sounds evil, but it's the best way I've come up with having students be able to address their own misconceptions and mistakes because the best way to learn is by failure. I've been told that my whole life, and it's so true.
Yeah, and I don't think it's evil. I think it's part of one of the things we talk about with Wooclap, which is the students need a feedback loop. And if they got the answer wrong, knowing that quickly and getting the feedback loop helps them to actually learn it correctly.
And like I said, I'm very careful to make sure that I don't bring students' confidence levels down by getting it wrong, right? They're getting that credit just as long as they participate. But it's just that struggle of the learning process that you got to fall down a few times before you can get back up and then get on your way. I don't use this one as much, but I have used it in the past specifically for drawing free body diagrams where students basically draw all the forces acting on an object. They're so crucial to solving problems when we have to use Newton's laws. And I want to see student work. And this was just an example that I did where they had to just upload a picture of their diagrams. And every student has a phone, so they were able to just take a picture of their notes and upload it right to Wooclap. And surprisingly, as long as the Wi-Fi is good in the room, it doesn't take that long for these images to upload. I don't know if you've ever used that before.
I have not, but I'm so excited to try this because I'm always dying to see what they're actually up to on their desks. Like, I just want to have them one day take a picture of their notes and show me what their notes look like. Like, what have you been up to this class? Like, let's use that. This is great. Great to see where they're at.
And it's anonymous as long as the students don't write their names in it. I don't even know which student submitted what until I get the Excel file, but it's nice that it shows all the pictures up there. You can click on one and zoom in and say, well, this is a good one because this, and this. This is an okay one, but this is missing. This is a bad one because you didn't do this, this, or this. It just gives me that A, B, and C tier level of students that are, again, they're anonymous. The student will probably recognize if it's there. And but at least you can give them examples of what good work looks like, what mediocre work looks like, and what you need to improve greatly.
We get no one-on-one time with these guys, so that is like such a great way to have like some sort of one-on-one time.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'll let you talk about this because you use them more than I do. The questionnaires.
Oh yeah. So I had been using this for my Sci 142 class. That's my future teachers or whatever. So I only have 6 weeks of physics and 6 weeks of chemistry with them. So it is really important to me that they come to every single class. So their attendance and participation, I think I have it at 25% of their grade. I do a lot of demonstrations and things for them. So I started using these questionnaires as part of their team activities. I think it's super important as teachers that they can collaborate with each other. They set their little groups at the beginning of the semester, and that's the same group they have for the whole semester. If they miss class, that's who I want them to report to. I want them talking and working things out. So I give them a bunch of these questions in a questionnaire. They're usually just kind of mathy or physics problems that they can work together. I never go through and look to see did they even complete them really. I just want them there working together, working with each other. I always upload on Brightspace, which is our like receptacle, I guess, the keys to all the questions after. So if they want to go double check their work, they can. But it's more of giving them 15 minutes every week to work together, work on these questionnaires. I take their attendance from it too. And I think it's been a really great way of having them engage with each other. Practice their questions. Those guys really, really have no background in science or math, so they're a challenging class. But this has been a great way for them to meet each other. And there's a lot of freshmen in that class too, so they really need that introduction to their teams.
I've used questionnaires before. In my large class, I've used it. I used it one semester to do the multiple choice section of my exams. And I still use the questionnaires in my physics courses for the multiple choice on my exams. I just find it so much easier and quicker to get that data back than having them fill out a Scantron, go scan the thing, get the data format. The one downside to doing it in the lecture halls here is that the desks are so small. I feel so bad to have them use their phones or their laptop to take the multiple choice question, and then there's no room for them to put their exam paper. So that is the one downside of it in our lecture halls with the tiny desks. But I think the questionnaires are a great aspect of Wooclap to have them do it at their own pace. They can work together if they want, or it also works great for multiple choice questions on an exam. I also love the Excel spreadsheet that Wooclap allows you to download with every Wooclap event that you make. It gives you the list of the students with their email, and it gives you all the questions you asked along with the answers, whether they got it right or wrong. And I'm a bit of an Excel wizard, so I was able to come up with a kind of a code to take all the V's, the X's, and the slashes and turn them into points so that I can calculate their participation grade as well as what extra credit they will receive. And even though every Wooclap event gives you a spreadsheet like this, you can combine them together so that you don't have all these spreadsheets going crazy. But I find this very helpful, and Excel for me is how I do all my grading. So it's great that it gives you that spreadsheet. You just need to encourage your students to log in with whatever email address you want them to use. For us, they have to use their Portland email address, because that way they can link it with the roster I get from Brightspace. So how I incentivize learning in my class is that they receive 1 point for answering every Wooclap question in class. It's basically an attendance check, and I make it clear with them, right? I don't care if you get it wrong, as long as you answer a question, you'll get participation credit. And they will receive 1 point extra credit if they get the answer correct in addition to the participation credit. So again, you're incentivizing that learning. You're encouraging them to answer the question, but also to get it correct. Now, how I work through this is just by feel, and it's based upon the number of questions I ask every year. With the large lecture class, I'm doing about 5 to 8 Wooclap questions a lecture, so that's 24 maximum per week. Over the course of 15 weeks, that's a lot of questions. So for every correct answer, they receive 0.025% extra credit. And if I asked if the student's Wooclap score was 100, but I only asked 85 questions, then their extra credit points that they would get would be 0.375, and that could be the difference between them getting a B+ and an A- in the class. And this has helped out so many of my students to go from that B+ to A- tier, or from C+ to B- tier. So I found that this has worked wonders in terms of incentivized learning. It's a little extra work on my part, but I'm at a point now where my spreadsheets are pretty much can do it themselves. I just need to input the Wooclap scores, and I'm at a point now where it's not as time consuming as it once was when I was first getting this off the ground. But yeah, I do this in every class that I ask Wooclap questions with. That's my policy. One point participating, and then 1 point for the extra credit.
I will say I am not techie at all, so I am the perfect example of someone that barely can use a computer, can barely use Excel, and somehow I've managed to cobble my way through using the Excel sheet to look and see, like, okay, did they answer most of the questions? Okay, perfect, boom, here's your points. So I use it on a really, really shallow base level, but it's working, and I know who's at class and I know who's not at class, and that's perfect for me. That's definitely my level.
Right. We also have the data that we could show future students that, students that get B's and A's in this course, look at their Wooclap scores. They tend to be higher, especially with the extra credit points, right? There's a clear connection there. If you student success in this class, come to class, answer the Wooclap questions.
Or just come to class.
Just come to class, So observable changes in our classrooms, definitely an improvement in attendance, improvements in engagement. I've made a rule with all my classes that if the whole class gets 100% on the question, you'll get pizza in the year. And so far, hasn't happened yet.
Oh.
People either sabotage it or just aren't paying attention. So still waiting for that one class to kind of cash in on the pizza. I've noticed an improvement in the classroom environment. It doesn't feel as dreadful anymore. It's more invigorating for me, more energetic. I enjoy going there every day now. And preparedness, if I make the questions ahead of time, I feel like it helps me to get ready for class. It knows where I'm going. I have a starting and an end point. And it helps the students be prepared, because they know every day that I'm going to be asking these questions. They got to have their phone out. They got to have their notes out, calculator, things like that. And I'll let that talk about what she's observed.
I'm still pretty new to teaching, but I do see a lot of engagement. I think it definitely keeps my classroom environment high energy, like I am. I should use it as a mode of preparedness before, because that's something I'm still working on. But yeah, like I just think it gives them it really does give them a voice, and I need to hear their feedback. Like I thrive off of how well they're doing. It's so important we move as a group. We don't leave anyone behind. So it really helps with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to know that these courses, there's so many, we're hounding them with about 6 hours of physics every week. It's a lot. They have 1 hour of lecture, 2 hours of lab, another hour of recitation, homework. It's a lot. And, we want to try to make this fun and engaging for them, but we also want them to meet our learning objectives. And just keep them motivated throughout the whole semester.
I wanted to ask you about the pizza.
Mm.
Can you repeat what were the conditions for them to get the free pizza?
I got 100% on the question. One question in one class. Everyone's got to get it right.
Oh, I see. Just one question.
It's one question.
100% answers on one question in one class, and they unlock the free pizza.
Mm-hmm. Okay. At the end of the year.
I want to know if that ever happens. And I love that free pizza is just like, it's the obvious intrinsic motivation in higher education. Like, you want the students to come, free pizza.
Right hand rule. You got to keep right hand rolling. We've gone beyond 80%.
Yeah.
Right? Every day.
Yeah. I pride myself in being able to ask good multiple choice questions. So yeah, I'm a little evil like that, but I don't want it to be, is this blue? And they say yes or.
So, Beth, do you offer any kind of carrot like that?
No, I hadn't really thought of that before. My kids do bring in candy sometimes, so I'm just giving away free incentives. Really, maybe I should have them come in, and if they get more than 80%, they can get the candy.
Yeah. Or you can do something like, if we have 80% attendance on average, you'll get the pizza at the end of the year, something like that. Food is universal incentive.
Especially pizza. The thing about pizza in colleges and universities, when I was working at a university, if we wanted the students to come, free pizza. So
it's how, when we used to do review sessions for this class, that's how we got them to come.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, cool.
All right. I think, three of you will be interested in using the online polling platform. That's great. Any questions from anybody out there?
Yeah, I wanted to see with Daniel. I don't know if you want to beam up, Daniel, or if you just want to type in the chat. Daniel asks if everyone gets pizza now that we have 100% of people who want it.
Hi. Yeah, it seems that everyone had to have gotten that right because they all want to use Wooclap.
Yeah. We'll DoorDash it to you.
I don't have any specific questions off the top of my head. I thought it was really interesting how you both use it. And I think explaining how you come from more of a technological side, Sean, that you not as much, but you can still show how simple it is to use and pick up, which is what I think makes Wooclap so special, that anybody can just pick it up and start using it. It's not complicated, but it's going to make your job a lot easier as well. I've heard from teachers tell me before, at first it took a little bit getting used to, but once you really dive into it, it saves you so much time downloading all those reports, having all the grades already there for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easier way to ask questions. And that's why I love also always talking to different instructors from different backgrounds. Hearing how someone in physics teaches and uses it as well is really interesting. Right. I don't come from a math background at all, but I found it really interesting.
Jennifer let me know recently that there is a way to input math equations into Wooclap, which I'm using now.
That's actually where I wanted to go. I just wanted to ask you about that. If you can share how it's changed the way that you ask those questions.
It's helped me primarily with putting less text in the PowerPoint slides because I can put the math equations right into Wooclap.
Mm-hmm.
But I still leave them in my slides because it's my primary source that I share with students are those slides that I use.
Okay.
But I also, when I finish a unit, I will make questionnaires out of all the questions I've asked in that unit so that students can go back and look through them. Because I think in the questionnaires, it also can, you can set a setting so that the students know what the answers are.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that way students can still have that. In the past, I've had to take screenshots of the questions I asked with the correct answer, but now I just switch everything to a questionnaire, give them the link, and then they can just go through on their own for review. Because a lot of students, have asked me, can I have access to those questions for review? I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely give them to you.
Cool. Awesome. Beth, do you ever use the LaTeX math language as well?
Oh no. I can barely use a cell phone, so that is my level. Anytime I have any concerns, I'm like in the office right next door. I'm just like, Sean,
help me,
because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm really terrible. Like when we went online, we had this department meeting, and like we were just in a room for COVID. And we're like, has anyone ever taught online? And we're just all looking at each other like we had no idea what was going on. So Sean has really been like, he is our tech person in our department.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, I do not know. But I was really excited that I was able to like put pictures in with my right hand rule. I was really proud of that question.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think everyone needs a Sean.
Everyone needs a Sean for sure. But I think that really the different ways that you both use Wooclap are kind of a perfect example of how our tool, it's quite powerful, but it's designed to be super easy and intuitive. And you don't need to be a tech guru to use it. But if you are a little bit of a tech guru, then you can kind of go a bit further with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I like the different variations of questions that you can ask as well. Multiple choice, input a number, polling. The word clouds are always fun, ranking. And it's not hard for the students to learn either. They catch on to it very quickly.
Oh yeah, they're already miles beyond me.
Yeah, well, it's that, that generation, digital natives, they were born with a cell phone in their hands, so super easy. Cool.
Funny thing when you ask students now, like, how do you make the sign for a phone call? They don't do this. They do this.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Well, we are currently working on a new question type. I won't give out too many details about it because then the product team will yell at me. But there should be a new question type coming out. Hopefully, it'll be ready, I would say, by October. And I'll let you guys know. But I think it could be interesting for physics, at least from what I've seen. We'll see.
I have a few things to work on for the fall. I'm excited to try some of these.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think there's just our little closing slide. I don't think we have any other questions. So, one of our mottos is together, let's make learning awesome and effective. Thank you guys so much for sharing your insights, sharing your experiences. It's been a real pleasure collaborating with the both of you and working to build this presentation and get more information from you about how the tool is helpful for you in the classroom.
No problem.
And if anyone has any questions, don't forget that you can always email us at info@wooclap.com, and our team will be happy to respond. So thanks, Sean and Beth. And we will be in touch again soon on Wooclap.
Take care, everyone.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.